I gave up my marriage to live like my 20s again. I'm sitting at our kitchen island on a Saturday morning, scrolling through Instagram while sipping my coffee. Derek moves around the kitchen, making his signature weekend breakfast, fluffy pancakes with fresh berries that I used to rave about when we first started dating 5 years ago. The kitchen smells like butter and maple syrup, but I barely notice anymore. Pancakes are almost ready, Derek says, glancing over his shoulder at me. I don't look up from my phone. Okay. I continue scrolling through photos of my college friend Zoe at some rooftop party in Miami. She's wearing a sequin dress that hugs her curves perfectly, surrounded by attractive people with cocktails in hand. The caption reads, "Living my best life, no regrets, forever young." I thought, that should be me. When did I become so boring? Earth to Natalie, Derek says, sliding a plate in front of me. I look up at him. His faded University of Michigan t-shirt has a small pancake batter stain. His dark hair is still messy from sleep, and he hasn't shaved yet. At 35, Derek is still handsome, but in that comfortable, familiar way that I've started taking for granted since we got married 3 years ago. Sorry, just checking what Zoe's up to. She's in Miami again, I say, turning my phone to show him. Derek glances at the screen and nods politely. Looks fun. How's the pancakes? I take a distracted bite. They're good, same as always. His smile falters slightly, but he recovers quickly. I was thinking we could drive up to that vineyard today, the one you mentioned wanting to check out. I'm already back on my phone. Maybe another time. I told Melissa I'd meet her for shopping and drinks. Oh, he says, disappointment lacing his voice. I thought we'd spend the day together, since I've been so busy with work lately. You can still go, I say. Take pictures for me. Derek sets his fork down. That's not really the point, Nat. I look up, irritation flickering across my face. What? I made these plans days ago. It's not my fault you decided to make plans without checking with me first. He pushes his plate away, barely touched. When's the last time we spent a weekend day together? 2 weeks ago? 3? Don't be dramatic, I say, rolling my eyes. We live together. We see each other all the time. Passing each other in the hallway doesn't count as quality time, he says quietly. I'm about to respond when my phone buzzes with a text from Melissa. Found the perfect club for tonight. Men will be buying us drinks all night. I smile at my phone, already mentally picking out what I'll wear. At 32, I'm still turning heads, and nights out with my single friends remind me that I haven't lost my touch. What's that about? Derek asks, noticing my expression. Nothing, I say, clicking my phone off. Just Melissa being funny. His eyes search mine for a moment. Are you going out tonight too? Probably, I say with a shrug. Is that a problem? It's the third weekend in a row you've gone clubbing, he says carefully. I thought maybe tonight we could watch that show we started. I cut him off. God, Derek, you sound like you're 60 instead of 35. It's Saturday night. Normal people go out and have fun. His face hardens. And I'm not normal because I'd rather spend time with my wife than get drunk with strangers? That's not what I meant, I say, but we both know it kind of is. Look, I'm just not ready to be old and boring yet. I still want to have fun, to live a little. And you can't have fun with me? He asks, his voice quiet. I don't answer immediately, and my silence says everything. 2 weeks later, I'm standing in our bedroom, putting on earrings in front of the mirror. Derek sits on the edge of the bed, watching me get ready for yet another night out. You look nice, he says, though his tone lacks enthusiasm. I'm wearing a tight black dress that shows off more cleavage than I'd wear to dinner with him. Thanks, I reply, applying another coat of mascara. What time do you think you'll be home? He asks. I sigh dramatically. I don't know, Derek. Late, don't wait up. It's Kim and Steve's anniversary dinner tomorrow night. I want to make sure you're not too hungover. I turn around, annoyed. I'm not going to be hungover, and even if I am, I'll power through it. It's not like dinner with your work friends is some can't-miss event. He flinches slightly at my dismissive tone. They're our friends, Natalie, and you promised we'd go. And I will, I snap. God, you're worse than having a parent sometimes. My phone buzzes with a notification that my Uber is arriving. I grab my clutch and head for the door. Hey, Derek says, following me. Can we talk about this? About us? I feel like we're drifting apart, and not now. I say, cutting him off. My ride's here, and the girls are waiting. There's never a good time with you anymore, he says, his frustration finally breaking through. I turn at the front door. What's that supposed to mean? It means I can't remember the last time you prioritized our relationship over going out with your friends. It means I miss my wife. I roll my eyes. Don't be so dramatic. I'll see you tomorrow. That's exactly what I mean, he says. You dismiss everything I say. You treat me like I'm some boring obligation instead of your partner. Maybe because you're acting like a boring obligation, I say sharply, instantly regretting the words, but too proud to take them back. His face falls, and for a moment I see real pain in his eyes before he masks it. Have fun tonight, he says flatly, turning away. I hesitate for just a second before walking out the door, pushing away the twinge of guilt that follows me. Later that night, I'm at Skyline, a trendy rooftop bar downtown. The music pulses around me, and I'm on my fourth Cosmopolitan, sandwiched between Melissa and our friend Taylor. We've been joined by a group of guys who keep buying us drinks. One of them, Chris, has been flirting with me all night. So what's your story? Chris asks, leaning close so I can hear him over the music. He's younger than me, probably 27 or 28, with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you're attractive. What do you want to know? I ask, feeling bold from the alcohol. Married? He asks, nodding toward my ring. I twist the band unconsciously. Technically. He raises an eyebrow. Technically? I laugh, feeling reckless. My husband's great, but he's such a homebody, always wanting to stay in, watch Netflix, go to bed by 10. Sounds tragic, Chris says with a smirk. A beautiful woman like you deserves to be shown off. The compliment sends warmth through me that has nothing to do with the alcohol. That's what I keep telling him. He just doesn't get it. He'd rather discuss our retirement plans than live a little. His loss, Chris says, his hand casually touching my waist. I don't move away. Melissa leans over, clearly drunk. Tell him about last weekend, when Derek wanted to go hiking instead of coming to my pool party. I roll my eyes dramatically. Oh my God, yes. He was like, but nature, Natalie. We need to appreciate nature. Meanwhile, Melissa had hired actual bartenders for her party. Which would you choose? Chris laughs. No contest. Sometimes I feel like I'm married to my dad, I say loudly. It's like, did I miss a memo? Are we supposed to be boring once we hit our 30s? Taylor joins in. Derek's sweet, though. Remember how he drove an hour to get you soup when you had that cold? Yeah, but sweet doesn't exactly keep things exciting, I say dismissively. Sometimes I wonder if I made a mistake getting married so young. I feel like I'm missing out on so much life. You're not missing out tonight, Chris says, his eyes traveling down my body in a way that makes me feel both uncomfortable and thrilled. I'm about to respond when I notice Melissa's eyes widen as she looks past me. I turn and freeze. Derek is standing a few feet away, a strange calm on his face. How long has he been there? How much did he hear? Derek, I say, my voice suddenly sober. What are you doing here? You left your asthma inhaler at home, he says quietly, holding it out. You mentioned the air quality was bad today, so I thought, it doesn't matter what I thought. I take the inhaler, mortified and defensive. You could have just texted me. I did, 3 times. His gaze shifts to Chris, then back to me, but he says nothing about the man's hand that had been on my waist just moments before. Well, thanks, I say awkwardly. You didn't need to come all this way. Clearly, he says, his voice eerily controlled. Enjoy your night, Natalie. He turns and walks away, threading through the crowd with purpose. Derek, wait, I call, but he doesn't turn around. Husband? Chris asks, suddenly looking uncomfortable. I should go after him, I say, but I don't move. That was rough, Melissa says, suddenly seeming more sober. He'll get over it, I say, but there's an uneasy feeling in my stomach. I reach for my drink and down it, trying to ignore the nagging voice that says I've just done something unforgivable. I'm standing in our dark kitchen at 3 a.m., still in my dress from the club, a glass of water in my hand. The house is quiet, too quiet. When I came home, I expected Derek to be asleep in our bed, or maybe waiting up to confront me about what he'd heard at the bar. Instead, the bed is empty, still made from the morning before. I pull out my phone and text him, "Where are you?" The response comes quickly, suggesting he's awake. Staying at Mark's tonight. We'll talk tomorrow. I thought, he's overreacting. It was just some venting. Everyone complains about their spouse sometimes. I head upstairs and peel off my dress, noticing that Derek's overnight bag is missing from the closet. In the bathroom, I wash off my makeup, staring at my reflection. The woman looking back at me doesn't seem as confident as she did hours earlier. The next morning, I'm sitting at the kitchen island with a strong coffee and a pounding headache when I hear the front door open. Derek walks in, looking tired but composed. "Hey," I say, attempting casual. "Want some coffee?" "No thanks," he says, setting his keys on the counter. He doesn't sit down. "About last night," I begin, "you caught me at a bad moment. I was just blowing off steam with the girls." "With the girls and that guy with his hand on your waist," Derek says, his voice level. "That was nothing," I say quickly. "Just some random guy at the bar." "That's not the point, Natalie," he says. "I heard what you said about me, about our marriage." I feel defensive heat rising in my cheeks. "I was drunk. People say stupid things when they're drunk." "Drunk words are sober thoughts," he counters. "And this isn't just about last night. This has been building for months. You're clearly unhappy with me, with our life together." "That's not true," I protest, but it sounds hollow even to me. "Isn't it?" he asks. "When's the last time you were excited to spend time with me? When's the last time you didn't check your phone every 5 minutes when we were together, looking for something better to do?" I don't have a good answer. "I love you, Natalie," he continues, "but I can't be with someone who sees me as the boring obligation keeping them from living their best life." "I don't see you that way," I say, but the words lack conviction. "You do," he says simply. "And maybe you're right. Maybe I am too settled for you. Maybe we want different things now." Fear suddenly grips me. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I think we need some time apart," he replies. "I'm going to stay at Mark's for a while, figure out what we both really want." "You're leaving me because I went out with my friends?" I ask incredulously. He shakes his head, disappointment clear in his eyes. "I'm leaving because you don't want the life we built together anymore. You made that very clear last night." "That's not fair," I say, tears starting to form. "You can't make that decision based on one stupid night." "It wasn't one night," he says firmly. "It's been dozens of nights, dozens of comments, dozens of times you've chosen anything else over our relationship. Last night was just when I finally heard how you really feel about me." "Derek, please," I say, suddenly realizing this is serious. "We can fix this. I'll go out less. We can spend more time together." "That's just it," he says sadly. "I don't want you to be with me out of obligation. I want you to want to be with me. And right now, you don't." He moves past me toward the stairs. "I'm going to pack some more clothes." I sit frozen at the counter, the reality of what's happening slowly sinking in. 2 weeks later, I'm in my living room, staring at my phone. Derek has barely responded to my texts, giving short, polite answers that reveal nothing about his feelings. It's Friday night, and I'm alone again, having turned down Melissa's invitation to go out. The apartment feels too big, too empty. I thought, this isn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to come back after a few days, and we'd make up and move on. I dial his number before I can talk myself out of it. "Hello?" he answers, background noise suggesting he's somewhere public. "Hi," I say, trying to sound upbeat. "I was wondering if we could talk. Maybe you could come over tomorrow?" "I can't tomorrow," he says. "I'm helping Mark move some furniture." "Sunday then?" I press. "Derek, it's been 2 weeks. We need to talk about this in person." He's quiet for a moment. "Okay, Sunday afternoon." "Great," I say, relief flooding through me. "I'll make lunch, your favorite pasta salad." "Don't go to any trouble," he says. "This isn't a social visit, Natalie. We need to discuss practical matters." The coldness in his tone stings. Right, of course. After we hang up, I pour myself a glass of wine and stare at the wedding photo on our mantel. We looked so happy, so certain about our future together. Sunday arrives, and I'm nervously straightening pillows when the doorbell rings. Derek never used to ring the bell. I open the door and my heart sinks. He looks good, better than good. He's gotten a haircut, and he's wearing a new shirt I've never seen before. There's something different about him, a confidence that wasn't there before. "Hi," I say, stepping back to let him in. "You look good." "Thanks," he says, staying in the entryway. "You too." An awkward silence falls between us. "I made coffee," I offer, And there's pasta salad in the fridge if you're hungry. I'm not staying long, he says. I just came to talk about our situation. The formality in his voice hurts more than anger would have. I lead him to the living room, where we sit on opposite ends of the couch that we used to cuddle on during movie nights. I've been thinking a lot, he begins, about us, about what we both want. Me too, I say quickly. Derek, I'm sorry about what happened. What I said was stupid and thoughtless. I don't really feel that way about you. I think you do, he says gently. Maybe not all the time, but enough that it's a problem. And honestly, that's okay. People change, wants change. But I love you, I say, tears threatening. I love you too, he replies. But love isn't always enough. We want different lives right now. You want freedom, excitement, spontaneity. I want stability, connection, building a future. We can have both, I insist. I can change. I'll go out less. That's not what I want, he interrupts. I don't want you to pretend to be someone you're not just to save our marriage. That would make us both miserable eventually. I stare at him, realizing for the first time that he's not just taking a stand, he's made a decision. So that's it? I ask, my voice small. You're giving up on us? I'm accepting reality, he says. And the reality is that you're not happy with me, with this life. And you deserve to be happy, Natalie. What about what you deserve, I ask. I deserve someone who sees a life with me as an adventure, not a prison, he says simply. The words hit me like a physical blow. I never said it was a prison. You didn't have to, he replies. Actions speak louder than words. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a folded document. I've consulted with a lawyer. Paf, these are the initial separation papers. Take your time reviewing them. I stare at the papers, unable to believe this is happening. You've talked to a lawyer already? Were you ever planning to try to work things out? I've spent 3 years trying to work things out, he says, a rare edge entering his voice. Trying to be exciting enough, interesting enough to keep your attention. I'm done trying to be someone I'm not. That's not fair, I say, anger mixing with my hurt. You're acting like I'm the only one with issues in this relationship. I never claimed to be perfect, he says, but I was committed to us, to building a life together. You've been looking for the exit for months. I have no response because deep down I know he's right. He stands up. Take your time with the papers. We can do this amicably. As he walks to the door, panic rises in me. Derek, please, don't leave like this. Can't we at least try counseling? He pauses, his hand on the doorknob. If you really want to try, I'll consider it, but only if you're sure this life with me is what you truly want, not just what you're settling for because you're scared of change. The door closes behind him, and I'm left alone with the separation papers and the dawning realization that I may have destroyed the best thing in my life. I'm sitting in a corner booth at Cafe Luca, nervously checking my watch. It's been a month since Derek moved out, and I've barely seen any of our mutual friends. Today, I'm meeting Lisa, who has been my friend since college and who introduced me to Derek 5 years ago. Lisa walks in, spots me, and heads over. Her hug is quick, perfunctory. Thanks for meeting me, I say as she sits down. Of course, she replies, but there's a coolness to her tone that wasn't there before. After we order, I dive right in. Have you seen Derek recently? Lisa hesitates. Yes, he came to Rob's birthday dinner last week. I feel a pang of hurt. I wasn't invited to that. It was complicated, she says diplomatically. People didn't want to create an awkward situation. So I'm the one who gets excluded? I ask, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. Natalie, Lisa sighs. You know I love you, but you've put everyone in a difficult position. Derek has been part of our friend group for years too. I know that, I say. I'm not saying he shouldn't be invited to things. I just didn't realize I'd lose all our friends in the separation too. Lisa looks uncomfortable. You haven't lost anyone. But people talk. They've seen how you've been acting the past few months, pushing Derek away, going out all the time. So everyone's taking his side? I ask incredulously. It's not about sides, she says firmly. But when someone repeatedly humiliates their partner in public, treats them like they're boring and embarrassing, yes, people notice and have opinions. Her words feel like a slap. Is that what everyone thinks I did? Natalie, at Rob's New Year's party, you literally said, and I quote, being married is like having a permanent chaperone. I can't wait for Derek to go to his conference next week so I can remember what freedom feels like. He was standing right behind you. I cringe at the memory I'd conveniently forgotten. I was drunk. I didn't mean it like that. You weren't drunk at Jen's baby shower when you spent the whole time telling everyone how glad you were that Derek didn't want kids yet because you still had living to do. Each example hits harder than the last. Had I really been that callous, that cruel? I didn't realize. I start but can't finish. Look, Lisa says, her tone softening a little. No one thinks you're a bad person, Tap, but you've been acting like Derek, and your marriage were burdens rather than choices you made and valued. That hurts to watch, especially for those of us who care about both of you. I blink back tears. How is he? Really? Lisa hesitates. He's okay. Better than expected, actually. He started rock climbing with Rob, something you always said was too expensive and time-consuming, if I recall correctly. I had said that, shutting down his interest without a second thought. He's also signed up for that cooking class he wanted to take. She continues. The one you said was for bored housewives. Each revelation feels like another indictment of my behavior. Is he seeing anyone? I ask, almost afraid of the answer. Not that I know of, Lisa says, but he seems lighter somehow, like he's rediscovering himself. The thought of Derek thriving without me sends a pang of jealousy through my chest, followed immediately by shame. What right do I have to begrudge him happiness after how I treated him? I've really messed up, haven't I? I ask quietly. Lisa reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. Marriages end for all sorts of reasons, Nat. But if you want honest feedback, yes, you took him for granted. You treated his love and stability like they were boring consolation prizes instead of the gifts they were. On the walk home, I replay Lisa's words over and over. Had I really been so blind? So ungrateful? The evidence suggests yes, and the realization is devastating. I'm standing in line at Groundwork Coffee, 2 months after Derek moved out. The separation papers sit signed in my lawyer's office. I've stopped going out as much, partly because my friends have drifted away, and partly because the club scene has lost its appeal. It turns out that trying to recapture your 20s at 32 mostly leads to hangovers and emptiness. Natalie? I turn at the familiar voice, and there's Derek, looking better than ever in workout clothes, clearly having just come from the gym. Derek, I say, my heart racing. Hi, how are you? He asks, and it seems like he genuinely wants to know. I'm surviving, I say honestly. You look great, he shrugs, a small smile playing at his lips. Been taking better care of myself. The climbing? I ask, remembering what Lisa told me. He looks surprised. Yeah, actually, I'm going 3 times a week now. It's become a real passion. That's wonderful, I say, meaning it. I'm glad you're doing what you enjoy. An awkward silence falls between us. What about you? He finally asks. Still going out a lot? I shake my head. Not really. Turns out it's not as fulfilling as I remembered. He nods but doesn't comment further. Listen, I say impulsively. Would you want to grab a table and catch up for a few minutes? If you have time? He hesitates, checking his watch. I can stay for a bit. We get our coffees and find a small table by the window. Sitting across from him feels both familiar and strangely formal. I owe you an apology, I say, deciding to get straight to the point. Many apologies, actually. Natalie, please let me say this, I interrupt. I've had a lot of time to think about how I behaved, how I treated you. I was selfish and cruel, and you didn't deserve any of it. He watches me carefully. What brought this on? Reality, I say with a sad smile. Without you around to take for granted, I've had to face some hard truths about myself. I told myself I was just trying to have fun, to not settle down too soon, but the truth is I was being childish and ungrateful. We both made mistakes, he offers generously. I shake my head. Your mistake was putting up with my behavior for as long as you did. I systematically devalued everything you brought to our relationship, your stability, your thoughtfulness, your love. He doesn't disagree, which hurts but is fair. The ironic thing, I continue, is that now that I'm actually experiencing the freedom I thought I wanted, it's empty. Turns out the so-called boring life we had was actually pretty wonderful. Why are you telling me this? He asks gently. I take a deep breath. Not to get you back, if that's what you're worried about. I know I've burned that bridge. I'm telling you because you deserve to hear it. You deserve to know that I recognize how wrong I was and that I regret it deeply. He nods slowly. Thank you for saying that. It does mean something to me. I'm trying to do better, I say. Be better. A better friend, a more grateful person, someone who appreciates what she has instead of always looking for the next thrill. That's good, Natalie, he says, and I can tell he means it. I want you to be happy. You too, I say, fighting back tears. You deserve all the happiness in the world. He checks his watch again. I should get going. I'm meeting someone for lunch. My heart sinks, but I force a smile. Someone special? He hesitates. It's new, but yes, I think she might be. The pain is sharp but cleansing somehow. I'm glad, I say, surprised to find I partially mean it. As he stands to leave, I can't help asking, what's she like? A genuine smile crosses his face. She's kind, enthusiastic about the small things in life. She thinks my pancakes are amazing. Each word is like a knife, highlighting exactly what I failed to appreciate. She sounds perfect for you, I manage to say. Time will tell, he says. Take care of yourself, Natalie. I watch him walk away, and for the first time, I truly understand what I've lost. 6 months later, I'm in my new apartment, a small one-bedroom that's all I can afford after the divorce settlement. Our house sold quickly, and after paying off our shared debts, we each walked away with enough for a fresh start. Derek's was decidedly fresher than mine. I'm unpacking the last of my boxes when I find our wedding album. I sit on the floor and open it, tracing my finger over our smiling faces. We were so happy, so full of hope and plans. I thought, how did I not see what was right in front of me? How did I convince myself that a good man who loved me was something to escape from? My phone pings with a notification from Instagram. It's a photo of Zoe, the friend whose glamorous posts had fueled so much of my discontent, at yet another exotic location. But instead of envy, I feel a strange emptiness looking at the image. The life I'd been so desperate to emulate suddenly seems hollow, a series of curated moments with no substance. I close Instagram and instead open my text messages. There's one from Lisa, checking in to see if I need help unpacking. Our friendship has slowly been healing, though it's not what it once was. There's another from my mom, who has been my rock through all of this. And there's one from my new therapist, confirming our appointment for tomorrow. I text Lisa back, accepting her offer of help, then set my phone aside and continue unpacking. Later that evening, I'm walking to the corner store when I spot a familiar figure across the street. Derek, hand in hand with a woman I don't recognize. She's pretty in an understated way, casually dressed, laughing at something he's saying. The knife of jealousy twists, but alongside it is a new emotion: acceptance. I duck into a doorway to avoid being seen, watching as they stop in front of a restaurant. Derek opens the door for her, his hand resting gently on her back as she enters. It's a small gesture, one he used to do for me, one of countless small kindnesses I'd stopped noticing. As I continue my walk to the store, I reflect on the lessons of the past 6 months. I've learned that freedom isn't found in clubs or drinks or flirtations with strangers. It's not in rejecting commitment or stability. True freedom, I'm slowly realizing, comes from gratitude, from recognizing and valuing what you have while you have it. I've also learned that you can't recapture your 20s once they're gone, nor should you want to. Each phase of life has its own gifts, its own challenges. My desperate attempt to cling to a past version of myself cost me a future with someone who truly loved me. Back in my apartment, I finish unpacking the last box and look around at my new home. It's smaller than what I shared with Derek, less luxurious, but it's mine, a clean slate. On the kitchen counter sits a plant Lisa gave me as a housewarming gift, alongside a cookbook I bought myself when I realized I'd never bothered to learn how to cook all those years. Derek did it for us. Small steps toward a new kind of life, a more grateful one, a more grown-up one. I pick up my phone one last time before bed and type out a message I've been drafting in my head for weeks. Derek, I hope this message finds you well. I've been wanting to tell you that I'm truly happy you've found someone who appreciates you the way I should have. I'm working on becoming a better person, and a large part of that journey has been recognizing how fortunate I was to have you in my life, even as I was too blind to see it. I wish you all the happiness in the world. You deserve it. And I hesitate for a long moment, then hit send before I can change my mind. He may never respond, and that's okay. The message isn't for him, not really. It's for me, an acknowledgement of my mistakes and a promise to do better. I set my phone down and get ready for bed, alone in my new reality. The life I thought I wanted, the carefree existence of my 20s, turned out to be an illusion, a mirage that cost me something real and precious. But as I settle under the covers, I feel a glimmer of hope for the first time in months. I can't go back and undo my mistakes. I can't reclaim the marriage I carelessly discarded. But I can move forward, wiser and more grateful, into whatever comes next. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.